let's go on to the next paragraph. In the discharge of thy place, set before thee the best examples, for imitation is a globe of precepts. And after a time, set before thee thine own example, and examine thyself strictly, whether thou didst not best at first. Okay, so he says, when you take up a job of importance, a position of importance, you have to choose certain models. Set before you good examples. Look at your predecessors. Look at them and see who among them were the best. Choose them as your role models. For imitation is a globe of precepts, because you have a large collection of moral lessons from the past examples. For imitation is a globe of precepts. So what he says is that you have a lot of things lying before you, the experience of others, and so there are a large collection of moral lessons from the past examples, and you can choose the best among them to guide you. So you are always free to imitate what others have done, if provided they have done good things. So choose good examples before you. That this is at the beginning of your career, when you have just newly been appointed into an important position. You look around and choose good examples and follow their footsteps. But then this should be done only for some time in the initial stages, when you are not sure of how to go about things. After some time you should change this, and what should you do? And after a time, set before thee thine own example, and examine thyself strictly, whether thou didst not best at first. I really admire this man, Bacon. And see, he says, after some time, stop following others. You set yourself as your example, and time to time examine yourself very strictly and see whether you have become better than the earlier yourself, or you've become worse. So isn't that a wonderful thing to do? All of us should do this, I think, at every stage of our life. Instead of always looking at others, once in a while, it is good to examine ourselves to see where we stand. So that is what Bacon says here. A man of important place, though he might imitate models, role models, have role models at the beginning, after some time, he should constantly monitor himself, and he should compare to see whether thou didst not best at first. So you have to make a comparison, an assessment of yourself, and see whether you have improved, or am I worse than what I was when I began, or have I come a long way off? Have I improved? If you have not improved, do something to improve. If you have improved, good, keep it up and go onward. Okay, so that's a very sensible thing. And then he says, neglect not also the examples of those that have carried themselves ill in the same place, not to set off thyself by taxing their memory, but to direct thyself what to avoid. So just like you choose good people as your role models, your efficient and able predecessors as your role models, same way, do not neglect the bad ones too. The ones that have carried themselves ill means people who went before you, who proved themselves to be great failures. So see that you look at them also, set them also as examples, not to set off thyself, not to tell them, see, I am better than that man. No, not, or by taxing their memory, in the sense, don't slander them, or don't talk ill of them, or don't kind of show off that fellow could do nothing, see, look what I have accomplished. Don't do that. Instead, then why should we have these people in mind? So that you will know what to avoid, so that you will not repeat their mistakes. Don't insult them or don't talk ill of them, but in your mind always be aware of the mistakes that they did and see that you don't repeat their mistakes. So it is not only the good ones who should be our models, but the bad ones too should be our models. From the first category, you should learn good lessons and see what you can copy. From the second category, you should learn what you should not copy. Reform, therefore, without bravery or scandal of former times and persons, but yet set it down to thyself as well to create good precedents as to follow them. So he says, reform therefore without bravery. If you feel that you should change, If you feel that you're not good at something, reform yourself without bravery, means without ostentation, without making a big show. You just quietly change your ways. If you have a weakness somewhere, spot it. To spot it, you have to do what he said earlier. Make an assessment of yourself periodically. Okay, and when you find that there is a problem somewhere in yourself, in your methods, reform it without making a big show of it. Or scandal of our, don't create a bad name for your predecessors too by doing bad things. Instead, quietly change yourself for the better. And also remember, set it down to thyself. You make a decision to create a good precedent as to follow them. So remember that you should be a good model for others to follow you. Just like you follow the ones who went before you, remember that the people who come after you will look at you. So see that you become a good model for them, not a bad one. Reduce things to the first institution and observe wherein and how they have degenerate, but yet ask counsel of both times, of the ancient time what is best, and of the latter time what is fittest. So he says, when you try to do something, try to, suppose there is a rule or something that you have to change, a practice that has to be changed, the first thing you have to do is reduce things to the first institution. In the sense, try to understand the origin of a rule or a principle. If there is such a practice there which you feel should be changed, don't straight away go and change it. Instead, find out why this rule came in the first place, or why this practice started in the first place, and then you make an assessment. So that is what he means by saying reduce things to the first institution, means to the first establishment. When it was established, what was the background, why was such a thing started? So do an investigation into that and observe wherein and how they have degenerate. If something has gone rotten now, start from the beginning and trace the line and see, this was working well in the beginning, but now it is not working well, or something has gone wrong. So you try to spot the exact place where something went degenerate. Yet ask counsel of both times, that is, seek guidance from the past. Both times here means the past and the present. You can talk to the older ones and ask them for their advice. You can also take the opinion of the people around you at present. So of the ancient time what is best, and of the latter time which is fittest. And so after making a thorough assessment of the matter at hand, after examining it right from the beginning, after seeing how it kind of became degenerate, after taking advice from the old people and from your peers, then what you do is you do what is the fittest. You make changes that would suit the times. Okay, so don't just drastically, unthinkingly introduce reforms. Dwell on them, study a matter carefully from the root, and then make appropriate changes which are suitable for the present times. You can see how commonsensical Bacon is, in everything that he says here. Then he says, seek to make thy course regular, that men may know beforehand what they may expect. But be not too positive and peremptory, and express thyself well when thou digressest from the rule. Seek to make thy course regular. Regular here means consistent. Be consistent in what you say and do. Don't keep changing your attitudes and opinions time to time. Your practices, be regular and consistent. If you issue a rule regarding something, see that you stick to it and you are strict about it. So that is why he says, make thy course consistent or regular, so that men dealing with you will know what to expect from you. Because suppose you are a person who are very honest, or you are a person who is very punctual. If you want everything to be in order, you follow that always, so that people who work with you, your subordinates, people who associate will know that this is what you expect from them, and they can do accordingly. But it is okay to be regular, in the sense that it is okay to be irregular can also mean, I guess, strict about something, strict about rules. So then it is okay to be strict, to be very particular, because we have some senior officials who are very strict about certain things. You know, your officer might say that you should always be on time. Your teacher might insist that you should reach the class in time. So it is fine. It is not a bad thing to insist on certain things, but be consistent. And you can be consistent or strict, but do not be too positive of peremptory. Means don't be too assertive or too kind of haughty or imperative, in the sense, don't be too rude to people and dictatorial. Don't behave to them like you are a dictator, and express thyself well when thou digresses from the rule. And suppose in some situation, if you have to change from your normal policy, tell the others why you are doing it. You are always very strict about people coming on time to your office, okay, but then to a certain person you are lenient, and then you have to explain to the others that I am lenient to this person because he's got a sick mother at home. He has to take care of the mother before he comes, and that is why I have given him a relaxation to come a little late. So something like that. When you are deviating from your usual policy, explain to the others why you are doing it. Otherwise they will think you are showing favoritism towards some people. So that is what is meant by express thyself well when thou digressest. Digress is to deviate from thy rule. Preserve the right of thy place, but stir not questions of jurisdiction. Remember to keep the authority, maintain the authority of their place. If you are the most superior person in an office, behave like you are a superior. Do not stir questions of jurisdiction. That is, don't let other people discuss the extent of your authority. Don't stir up conversations about the extent of your authority. Make it very clear what you can do and what you won't do. And rather assume thy right in silence and de facto. So he says you don't have to, people in a great place shouldn't make a big noise about what they do. They should very silently and very firmly assert their prominence in silence and de facto, in actual fact. They shouldn't do much of talking. Their authority should be visible in their action. You don't have to tell 100 times that I am the superior here, I am the boss. Without telling, without making a noise, without repeating I am the boss, you should, through your actions, make the other people feel that you are the boss, that they cannot question you. Okay, so rather assume their right in silence and de facto, then voice it with claims and challenges. Do not challenge people, do not keep airing out your or calling out and saying that I am here, I am the boss, you have to obey me. Instead, make them do it through your actions. Now the next line, preserve likewise the rights of inferior places, and think it more honor to direct in chief than to be busy in all. So when you are in a great position, it is always good to protect the rights of inferior places and consider it an honor to direct in chief than to be busy in all. In the sense that, let me give you an example. Now, sometimes in an office, the boss might assign duties to his subordinates. And then what an efficient and a good boss should do is, he should preserve the right of that person. In the sense, he should allow that man to do his work. He should allow that person to do his job. He shouldn't interfere there unnecessarily, and think it more honor to direct in chief than to be busy in all. He shouldn't kind of keep interfering every other day and asking and giving directions, because the job, the work is already assigned to somebody. So allow that somebody to do it according to his method. As a boss, you should consider it an honor to be the director of the whole thing. Let small thing, and don't poke your nose here than to be busy in all. In the sense, don't poke your nose into everything. You give a job to somebody, allow them to do it. Otherwise, it gives the feeling to the others that you don't trust them, which is not a good thing. It will create a very unhealthy environment in your workplace. So that is what he means by preserve likewise the rights of inferior place. You might be a superior. Now this particular line, it reminds me of something that I read about APJ Abdul Kalam, about how one of his subordinates had said that Kalam was a very good leader, a very good boss, and in ISRO they too kind of delegate work to different people, and then all the others, once the work is delegated, everybody would consider that person as the most important person. Then everybody would do everything possible to assist that person. And there is this one instance of how a scientist, he was given a work, and he had actually promised his children that he would take them to a circus in the evening, but he was so immersed in his work that he forgot about it. And it is said that in the evening, Kalam happened to pass by, and he just peeped into the lab, and he saw that this man was still working in the office. And Kalam also knew that he had promised to take the children out, and so what Kalam did was, he himself, he went there, or he arranged somebody else to take the children out to the circus. And he just allowed, when this man finished his work and went home, and he asked his wife about what did the children say, I couldn't come. She said it's okay, that was taken care of, somebody had come from your office to take the children out. So that is one instance where you see this, that is the superior understood that this man is working, and he respected, or he preserved the rights of this man. He allowed him to work. He did not interfere in any way. And so that is what a good or a clever boss should do. So just be the chief, don't be nosy, too nosy, and don't irritate all your subordinates. Embrace and invite helps and advices touching the execution of thy place. And do not drive away such as bring the information as meddlers, but accept them in good part. So the next point is this: embrace and invite helps. Embrace in the sense welcome. When people offer help, when people offer advice touching the execution of thy place, means pertaining to, regarding, or relating to your work, welcome that. Welcome help, welcome advice when it is related to your work. And when people bring you information, when they try to give you some information, when they try to offer some kind of help, don't chase them away as meddlers. A meddler is somebody who interferes in others' business. So when somebody comes and tells you, see, this is not how you should do it, or let me help you with this, let me give you an advice, accept them in good part. In good part means in good spirit, with grace. So don't chase away, don't turn away people who come forward to help you. Receive them in good spirit. There is no harm in listening to what others have to say to you. Whether you obey what they say or whether you don't obey, it depends on your discretion. But don't thwart the offers of help or advice that is given to you. Accept it in good grace. That will make them feel good about themselves. It will also enhance their opinion about you. So that is the end of that particular paragraph. Now let's go on to the next one. Now here he goes on to enumerate the vices or the evils of authority. He says, the vices of authority are chiefly four: delays, corruption, roughness, and facility. So there are four evils of authority. The first one is delay, second corruption, third roughness, and fourth facility. So delay in the sense being delayed in your responses, being delayed in taking decisions. So he said, and after he gives us a list of these four vices, and also he gives the remedies to solve these or to get rid of these vices. He says, for delays, give easy access, keep times appointed, go through with that which is in hand, and interlace not business, but of necessity. So he says, in order to avoid delay, give easy access, allow people to approach you. Suppose somebody has a complaint, a grievance, let him come to you and tell it to you so that you can do something about it. So give easy access, because we often say about justice that justice delayed is justice denied. So in many cases that is what happens when things are not done on time, then there is no point in doing them later at all. So same way here he says, to avoid delay, give easy access. So allow people to approach you. Don't close yourself inside an ivory tower. Instead offer easy access to people so that they can bring their problems to you and you can solve them at the earliest. When you are a person in authority, there are many other situations where you have to settle problems. So one thing is giving easy access. Second, keep times appointed. That is, follow a strict schedule. You fix a time for something, try to do it at that time. Then go through with which is in hand. That is, don't interlace business, in the sense, do not do too many things at one time. Do not put your fingers, they say that do not put your fingers in too many pies. Okay, just one at a time. Try to finish off. When you're doing one thing, concentrate only on that. Unless it is a case of great necessity, unless it's very, very necessary, do not mix your jobs. Take up one and then finish it off. And we know that men in general are not very good at multitasking, whereas women are better than them. So here he of course is talking from his experience. So he says, don't try to do too many things at the same time, finish them one by one, and this will make sure that you can get things done faster and more efficiently. Then so that is his remedy for avoiding delay. And then for corruption, what do you do to avoid corruption? Do not only bind thine own hands or thy servants' hands from taking, but bind the hands of suitors also from offering. For integrity used doth the one, but integrity professed and with a manifest detestation of bribery doth the other. And avoid not only the fault but the suspicion. Whosoever is found variable and changeth manifestly without manifest cause, giveth suspicion of corruption. Therefore always, when thou changest thine opinion or course, profess it plainly and declare it, together with the reasons that move thee to change, and do not think to steal it. Okay, now what he says is, in order to avoid corruption, what do you do? What is this corruption? Corruption is taking money from others to do something. And that is you offering. When somebody offers bribes, that in offices you have a lot of bribery. You have to give money or do some favor in order to get people to do things for you. So that is corruption. So he says, when you are in great place, you necessarily have to avoid corruption. So what do you do for that? Do not bind only thine hands. There is no point in binding your hands. No point in saying that I will not take a bribe. And again, or thy servant's hands. And there's no point in also saying that none of my people in the office, none of my subordinates should take bribe. That alone will not do. You have to bind your hands, you have to bind your servants' hands, you also have to bind the hands of suitors from offering. You should make sure that people coming to you should not offer any bribe to you. Make your policy very clear right at the beginning that I do not take bribes, I don't want any of my subordinates to take bribes, and I don't want anybody coming here to offer any of us any bribes. So the policy should be very clear. For integrity used doth the one. So he says a person who has integrity. Integrity is having a sound sense of right and wrong, what you should and should not do in a given situation. So he says when a person has integrity, the first thing will automatically happen, that is binding your hands. That will automatically happen. But then it is not enough if you just have integrity. You have to profess your integrity. Profess in the sense you have to announce your integrity. You have to make it public. You have to announce to the whole world that I am an honest man. I will not take bribes. That is the policy of this particular office. So, and with a manifest detestation of bribery, doth the other. So, being a person with integrity would tell the others that you will not take bribes, but only if you announce your integrity, make it known to everybody in your office and to the people who would come to your office that you detest bribes. Only then you can do the second thing, that is binding the hands of the suitors. And avoid not only the fault but the suspicion. That is, don't even let others think that you are dishonest. Just uproot the thought from anybody's mind. Your predecessor might have been a man who took bribes, but as soon as you assume office, make it very clear that you will not take bribes. It is not permitted in this office, and say it loud and clear. Let it be known to all. And then he says, whosoever is found variable and changeth manifestly without manifest cause, giveth suspicion of corruption. This is something that we mentioned earlier. Said that a person should be consistent. If he changes, always tell the others why he changed. So that's the same idea here too. If you are a variable person, variable in the sense a person who keeps changing his methods, his ways, and changeth manifestly without manifest cause. So if you suddenly change your policy, manifestly means very obviously, openly, without manifest cause, without any evident cause, that would give rise to suspicion. In the sense, like the example I said earlier was, you are strict that everybody should come on time, but when you give one person the permission to come late, you have to give the reason for it. As I told you, you give the reason that that person has a very serious emergency at home. He has to take care of it before he comes to the office, and so he has the permission to come late. So once you give the reason, the others will understand why you have given him the permission. But if you don't, you are very strict, and whatever happens, you don't let anybody do something, but then suddenly in the case of some person you change your policy, people will think that it is because you have taken bribe from that person. So that is why whosoever is found variable and changeth manifestly without manifest cause, giveth suspicion of corruption. Therefore always when thou changes thine opinion, profess it plainly. So when you change your opinion about something, profess it, make it public, speak about it openly and plainly, and declare it together with the reasons that move thee to change. Do not think to steal it. Steal here means don't keep it a secret. Tell others why you have changed your earlier policy. Otherwise, they would definitely think, you can't blame them if they think that you have been bribed or you have become corrupt. A servant or a favorite, if he be inward and no other apparent cause of esteem, is commonly thought but a byway to close corruption. So he says that if a person has a favorite or a servant, and if he is very intimate with that servant, and if this person is a very ordinary person, a person of no esteem, apparent cause of esteem, he has no special talents or no intelligence, just an ordinary person who you would keep very close to you, that again would give rise to suspicion, because people would start thinking that you have appointed this man, this favorite, as a shortcut to receive secret bribes, that he is the one who manages your bribes. So if you keep people with you See that you don't make others feel that this person is your favorite, because then the others will see him as a byway, as that is a shortcut or an instrument to close corruption. Close here means secret corruption. So what you cannot do in the open, you are making this man do it. That is how people would think if a powerful person keeps a favorite. If he be inward, again inward means intimate. So these are the things that a person should avoid in order to get rid of corruption in his office. Then for roughness, it is a needless cause of discontent. Severity breedeth fear, but roughness breedeth hate. So he says roughness is another vice of authority. When you are in power, you tend to be rough. Rough means rude, sarcastic, using bad language, insulting people. So there is a tendency for such things to happen, but don't indulge in that. That is why it says here, it is a needless cause of discontent. It creates unhappiness. Severity breedeth fear. Severity, if you are very strict, people will be afraid of you, but they will not hate you, and they will even respect you. When a boss is kind of severe, when he is, as we said earlier, strict, but when they understand that he is well-meaning in what he does, they will definitely fear him, but they will also respect him. On the other hand, when you behave roughly, rudely, impolitely to everybody, that would breed hatred. People will start hating you. Even reproofs from authority ought to be grave and not taunting. So even when you reproof means scolding or a reprimand. When you scold somebody from authority, you are an authoritative person, and when you scold somebody or your subordinate, you have to be serious, grave in your the language that you use, in the words that you choose. You can be very serious, very solemn, very grave, but do not be taunting. Taunting here means sarcastic or mocking. Don't humiliate people. Don't insult them. Don't be too sarcastic. Tell them in a very serious tone what the problem is, what their fault is. That is definitely better than insulting them. So that is how you get rid of roughness. Be polite to your subordinates. Tell them things in a very serious, but in a manner in which they don't feel humiliated. Then the fourth vice is facility. Now facility means being too easy, in the sense easily falling prey to somebody's flattery or recommendation. When somebody speaks good of you, you fall for it. You don't take bribes, but somebody comes and says good things about you, immediately you do whatever he wants you to do. So that, he says, is not at all a good thing, and that's why he says, as for facility, it is worse than bribery. For bribes come but now and then, but if importunity or idle respects lead a man, he shall never be without. So he says facility is worse than bribery, because bribery does not happen on a daily basis. Once in a while somebody might come and offer you a bribe, but then if they understand that you are a man who falls prey to facility or importunity. Importunity is when you importune a person, you beg a person, you repeatedly request, you plead with somebody. So if you have this reputation of very easily giving in to importunities, then you are done for. And again, idle respects. If you kind of don't judge people correctly, and if you have baseless preferences towards some people on the basis of what they tell you, if somebody comes and flatters you, if you are going to listen to all such people, this is worse than bribery, because bribery will happen only once in a while, but this can happen every day. That's why he says he shall never be without, means he will be constantly troubled by people. Once people understand that you have this nature of falling for people who praise you or flatter you, you will be flooded with such men and you will have real trouble. So do not be that easy. That is what he means by facility. So be strong. Do not give ear to the flattery of others or the repeated requests of others. As Solomon saith, to respect persons is not good, for such a man will transgress for a piece of bread. As Solomon saith, to respect persons is not good, for such a man will transgress for a piece of bread. So King Solomon, the wise Solomon, has said, when you are in a position of authority, when you are a king or when you are a superior officer, do not respect a person. Does not, now this respect does not mean respecting in the usual sense, but do not do favors to individuals. That is what he means by do not respect individuals, persons. To respect persons is not good. It is unwise to do favors for individuals. For such a man will transgress for a piece of bread, because a man who shows favors will do so for trivial reasons. If a man shows favors to one, he is expected to show favors to others also. So don't do that. A person in great place should never show favors to individuals. So that is again a very, very valid point.